Hello, and welcome to The New Normal. I'm Philip Rebentisch, Director of Community Outreach for LA NORML, and I have the privilege of speaking with LA NORML founder and Executive Director, Bruce Margolin. So, Bruce, you started LA NORML back in 1973 when approval for cannabis legalization was in the teens. As a young lawyer at the time, what led you to found LA NORML in that kind of polling environment when it wasn't really popular?
Well, actually, I started my campaign for legalization of marijuana in 1967 when I began my practice as a young lawyer. I created an organization called CAMP, the Campaign to Abolish the Marijuana Prohibition, and it was very successful. I did a lot of campaigning. I ran for office at that time, did a very good job against a long-term Republican incumbent. And we had a lot of support from different people that were in the political scene, came to parties, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, in 1973, I got an invitation by Michael Stepanian in San Francisco to please come up to San Francisco and meet with Keith Stroop and others, because they wanted to see if they could put together these multiple different organizations, which are about two or three actually. Actually, two of them were really the one that was most important, ours and Amorphia. And so at that time, we needed to discuss the possibility of us giving up our individual organizations and come under the umbrella of the national organization. So I agreed to do that. And but this wasn't a new thing for me, okay? I'd already done a lot of battling at that time. That's a lot of difference between 67 and 73. That's 6 years. And a lot happened in between to get us where we were at that time. Keith was there. A guy named Brownell, Gordon Brownell was there. Michael Stepanian, other people were there. And I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll start an organization, LA NORML. And that's how it started out. Why? Because we were down for the cause. It was terrible. People go to prison like crazy. There were more arrests than any time in the whole history of the United States, probably in 1967, and it wasn't stopping in 1973.
Right.
So a long way to go. That's why I started.
Bruce, how did your fellow attorneys feel about NORML at the time? You know, you're advocating for cannabis rights, you're defending, criminal possession. Did you need a suit of armor or just a good sense of humor to deflect those ignorant barbs that I'm sure you must have received? Well,
I didn't receive a lot of them, I'll tell you the truth. People were polite, and even the cops were pissed off, but they didn't make much of an issue about it. But the lawyers, they understood my campaign. They didn't understand the law. They didn't know what marijuana laws were. They didn't know much about them. But they, I think, respected the fact that I was so successful. By the way, by the time in 1973, I already made a big name for myself and for NORML because, like I told you, I ran for assembly and won the primary, almost beat the Republican incumbent. And but anyway, in 1969, for example, I'm looking at my guide right now, marijuana, because there's an article in there about that. I went to Southwestern Law School.
Oh, sure. You're in LA.
Law School. Yeah. They were putting on an event in which A.L. Warren, who was the president of ACLU, was invited to speak. Now, I had done some work for ACLU as well, and they invited me instead of him because he got sick or something. And they, in turn, put out an article about me. Let's see if I can find it here, 1969. And let's see it here. Let's see, 1969. Yeah, here it is. A banquet speaker proposes to legalize marijuana. Okay, that was kind of a shock to people in those days, right?
Yeah.
And but it was very nicely put in this thing, and they said that I told them how cases were being beat in those times because we could win cases very easily in those cases because the laws regarding search and seizure were relatively new, and the cops didn't know what the laws were. Okay. So So anyway, so the lawyers and the people, young kids at law school, they thought I was a deal. Okay, so it wasn't a lot of problems.
Good.
So, but nevertheless, I didn't pay much attention to people complaining about it.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was on the right track. I had plenty of support from all kinds of people, so it wasn't a problem.
So, as you know so well, California's voters passed Prop 215 in 1996. Which was the first medical cannabis law to be approved in the United States.
Right.
So By then, you'd been advocating for legalization for 20 years. So how did that make you feel, Bruce? I mean, did you feel vindicated? Did you feel joyous? I mean, walk me through that.
I felt I was so nervous about the campaign. I was an advisor to it as well. And we fought hard for it, and that was the same year that President Clinton was supposed to be reelected. Okay, but he wasn't doing very well in the polls. It made us very nervous. Okay, and so make a long story short, when it passed, I was elated. Okay, it was so wonderful to see that we made such a strong headway. And by the way, it wasn't NORML that did that much work with it as compared to the people in San Francisco. Okay,
Right.
Dennis Perone. It was spearheaded it because of the AIDS epidemic, and that was the catalyst for people to understand the importance of legalization for medical purposes. So it was a wonderful thing. But we had other wonderful things happening before that. In 1976, we worked with NORML and my work with some of the politicians. We passed a bill, the Moscone bill, that reduced felony and misdemeanor, felony offenses that called for up to 10 years in prison to misdemeanors. Okay.
Okay.
And then,
yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, 1976.
For sure. Yeah.
That's when we saw that first sign to go up in Hollywood. It was changed from Hollywood to Hollyweed up in there in the mountains, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so those things were happening. So things were moving along, but people were still going to jail like crazy. The cops are making it a priority to bust people for weed. And there was a lot of political energy given to putting people in jail and punishing these poor hippies, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it wasn't good, okay? Yeah.
With Prop 64, which legalized adult use consumption here in the state of California, meaning you didn't need a medical recommendation anymore. On the whole, how do you feel about Prop 64, Bruce? Do you think it's been positive? Do you think it's been negative? A little bit of both? What do you think?
Well, first of all, we were this is my problem, okay? And Prop 64 was something I really wasn't excited about, obviously, okay? I wanted decriminalization. I didn't want legalization to the degree that they turn everything into business, okay? I want to decriminalize it. People grew it like broccoli in their backyard, organic testing, take it to the market, pay income tax, pay sales tax, and leave us alone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they had to make a big business on it because that's where they saw the money was there, okay? So nevertheless, I had to tell people we could not vote for legalization. How can I say don't vote for it, all right? And so we've been dealing with Prop 64. You know, I got involved with licensing and all that, but it looks like you have to have a lot of money or be very lucky to get involved with the business of pot, okay?
Right.
And so, and I wanted to keep that cottage industry. All the people that suffered all those years that provided the sacred herb to us have now been left out of the picture. So I'm still concerned about it. I still would like to see new initiatives that change the initiative, but I hope to change it. I work with the legislature. I'm trying to change things about on-site consumption licenses. I got a lot of work to do here, but let's keep talking.
So I write all the time that, you know, living here in California, in the major cities, we kind of live in a cannabis bubble.
Yeah, we do.
It's fairly easy to get both legal and illegal cannabis. So what are some, you know, you just mentioned initiatives. So what are some of those initiatives moving forward that NORML can participate in? I mean, what's the future for LA NORML?
One thing I talk about is on-site consumption licenses. Like I got a call yesterday from a poor guy that lives in the street. They give him some housing. No, you can't smoke here. You can't smoke in the street. So I've been working with the city council. Well, we're still left over from Jack Herrera's ideas about what pot should be considered. There was two of them on the ballot potentially this year. One was called CHHA or something like that. The other was called something else. But they didn't get very far. And I guess we have to keep working with the legislature. That's all there is to it at the moment. But I'm working on site consumption licenses with Herb Wesson and Cat Packard in LA City. And they promised me this year it was going to happen. But now with this virus, everything's put aside. And the problems we had with this equitable licensing problem in the city of Los Angeles put everything else on hold. So here we are, standstill right now with the whole situation.
So following on that thread just a little bit, Bruce, what do you think is important for the original NORML activists, the OG, shall we say, to pass on to the new generation of NORML activists? What are some of those core values that we should be paying attention to?
Well, first of all, we're talking about a very sacred herb here, okay?
Mhm.
I mean, it is God's gift. It's God's gift to us. There's not enough understanding of the depth of how important this gift is from God, okay? I don't want to get too crazy about it, but I think that's important for people to realize what the heart of our organization is to make it. We represent what's called the consumer. We don't represent any business. We're not in the business of pot. We're in the business of helping the consumer have access and good product, okay? And so I think that's what we have to understand, the new normal, as you put it. Also, we have to work more closely with the legislature. We have these programs. We go up to San Francisco, in fact, to Sacramento every year, and that usually works out very well. And there's a lot to be done because I'll give you an example. People are still not able to smoke in any other place but a home. They're still allowed to fire people because they're using marijuana or have used marijuana. That's not fair. Because by the way, I do testing for my employees too. If they don't have THC in their system, they're going to get rid of them. Okay. Anyway, so there's all kinds of things. NORML's working on. I don't know if you got the newsletter that NORML puts on. Is terrific. It explains a lot of things that are relevant to people's concerns. calnormal.org, and also we have problems with people. First, they were having problems people getting busted at the airport. They stopped that, okay, for less than an ounce, okay. Right. And we're constantly fighting bills that try to make it more restrictive up there in Sacramento. For example, things regarding smoking and driving. They're trying to come up with these unfair, unjust ways to evaluate that issue.
Right.
And so we're doing a lot of work in a lot of different areas, a lot to still be done. And we got to protect the consumer. And we have to make sure that we have access to this sacred herb.
Social equity is a huge problem. We still have way too many people serving sentences for nonviolent cannabis possession crime. Right. So, Bruce, what should we be doing as LA NORML to help that situation?
Well, there are organizations. As a matter of fact, I just invited Ms. Landa to speak at our last event. It's an organization supporting people in custody. And as a matter of fact, I spent a few bucks and give them dollars too. People are there for marijuana cases, okay? Mm-hmm. We have to keep talking to our legislature. I mean, the federal government has about 40 or 50 people serving big sentences for marijuana. And they just want to give it up. I don't know why. It's horrible. When Obama was in office, he pardoned a few people. And Trump pardoned a couple of women, I think a woman. But not enough is happening here on that level. But they're so busy, Congress and the Democrats, that it's very hard to get things that get much attention to these kind of issues. They're putting on the back burner, you know. We also have legislation right now trying to give each state, autonomy, get the feds out of the marijuana prosecution thing, let each state decide for themselves, called states' rights. That got close, but it got put down. There's all kinds of politics involved with pot. It hasn't stopped.
No.
That's when I got involved. When I first became a lawyer and argued with the judge, Judge, why are you putting this guy in jail? What's wrong with pot, basically, okay? Yeah. I learned in law school, Your Honor, that the purpose of punishment, according to the American Bar Association standards of punishment, is that you punish for the intended wrong. So the judge said, well, Mr. Margolin, young man, he broke the law. I said, oh, well, my God. I guess I knew what I had to do next. I had to go out there and get into the political area because it wasn't going to change in the courtroom.
When you're meeting someone that is not a supporter of cannabis legalization, how do you talk to them? What's that cocktail party conversation like, Bruce?
Well, I light one up and offer them one. That usually says.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Look at people know where I'm coming from. So they don't get in my face about it, okay? Now, I know that people are very reticent. So there's some people that don't understand, see it as a terrible thing. It's a drug. And I respect their opinion, okay? Mm-hmm. There are issues, there are issues here about this. There's metaphysical issues, okay? Why go outside of your own personal, shall we say, understanding of life to go outside to create something to give you pleasure and peace, okay? Mm-hmm. You should better do that within, okay? Arguably, all right? So I respect people's opinion about that. I don't get in their face about it. I don't argue about it. But I just tell them that I think it's best for the government, best for our country, not to put people in jail I think it's a right decision to make a choice for yourself when it comes particularly with your health, and that the Constitution says we're entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and these are all within that structure, and that I respect your opinion. However, I think that where we're going with this is the right way to go. It's a part of the American philosophy of being able to run your own life.
Have a favorite way to enjoy cannabis? I peg you as a flower guy, Bruce.
I'm a flower guy. I tell you, I don't like vaping. I don't even like vape with those home vapors, because it smells like the weed's burnt. Okay, so I like to have it. I like to roll a nice doob. And but unfortunately, I do use two papers. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, but I use two papers. Big tags, all right. I know that's not cool.
I think that's okay.
I don't put a filter in them anymore either. It's too much trouble, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I like high THC. And as far as edibles are concerned, I have sometimes those edible THC, but not a lot, because you can really get messed up on that. You got to be very careful. And anybody's watching this, I want to tell them it's very important that they try some. They got to wait an hour or two to first get the experience. Don't say, well, that was delicious. Gee, I don't feel anything. Boom, boom, boom. You're taking 4 or 5 those pills. You're going to be in trouble, okay? So I'm going to be very concerned
for
about
sure.
that.
I in one of the articles I wrote one time, I came up with what I call "don't break the glass rule." Go low and start slow. Right?
That's good.
For that very reason. So it's like, and it's easy to remember. Don't break the glass rule. And yes, I came up with that, and I'm sticking with it. So,
where'd you write that article? Where was that?
Oh, it was for one of my clients that I was writing for, and it was a feature on a cannabis chef. Give a shout out to Chef Matt. And I wanted to remind people that exactly what you just said. You need to be very careful with that. So, the last question I have for you today is, and you touched on this already, Bruce, but you know, I'm in the media side of the cannabis business, which means I pay a lot of attention to the media. And what I don't see a lot is talking about the spiritual nature of cannabis. And so I'd kind of like to close out our session here today with, you know, circling back to that idea of it being a sacred plant. So can you touch on that a little bit more and how you feel about that, Bruce?
Well, let me go. Let me do a little bit of backstory where I learned more about the spiritual use of the sacred herb. Okay. In 1970, I took a sabbatical for a year and went to, amongst other places, India, okay? And I saw firsthand the culture, how they dealt with marijuana and how they felt about it. And as part of this, as part of their tradition, as part of their religion, the Lord Shiva, his sacrament is ganja, okay, marijuana. And the sadhus and the saints, I read a lot about this. And as a matter of fact, 2 years ago, my daughter and my lover went to India, Putawar night, and hanged out with the sadhus that smoked, you know, this stuff. And so it's a sacrament, okay? And they see it. And now, let me give you one other example, right? I've been talking to Cat Packer and to Herb Wesson, the head of City Council, about the other side of this picture, the right to association. And I also mentioned the matter that people use this in a spiritual way, okay? And so I talked to a very close friend of mine, Baba Ramdas. I don't know if you know who he is, right? You don't know him, right?
No.
Baba Ramdas. He was with Timothy Leary at Harvard. He was head of the psychiatric department.
All right.
I was with him in India in 1970. I've been with him ever since. So we're very close friends, okay? Until he passed on this year. Nevertheless, I said, what can I tell them about the spiritual use of this product? He said, tell them it's a path to God. And that's what I see. It does open you up. You smoke it, you just let your ego is brought down. You're more friendly to people around you. You're more open, you know. And as Willie Nelson says, if you can't be depressed smoking weed. Okay, that's what it comes down to, all right? And so whenever I talk, I have a little road here. Whenever I talk, I say a special mantra: Om Namah Shivaya. Hail the Lord Shiva, the Lord who brings us the sacrament of the sacred herb, okay, which is ganja or marijuana. So with that, I'm going to take a toke to show that I can do it. It's my right and my privilege, and I'm happy to do this. And I encourage everybody to exercise their rights. If they have a place to grow weed, they can grow 6 plants in their home. Another problem we have, We don't have outdoors grows, which are not allowed in most places. We got to change that. There's a lot to be done here, okay, to make it fair. I meet people on the street here. A little old lady, for one, to be smoking out in her courtyard, afraid that she can't smoke in her house. She lives in a Section 8 program. She can't smoke outside. She can't smoke anywhere.
Right.
That's got to stop, okay?
Yeah, 'cause that's a federal program that provides funds for people to help with rent. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. So
not only that, the landlords could say you can't smoke. You know that? And if you live in a condo, the condo managers can say you can't smoke. I get calls all day long about people that can't believe that's true. That's Prop 64. That's an example of why I don't like Prop 64. I don't like those things. But they were trying to show a compromise because they want people to vote for it. So I know that they had to do things like that, like like that. If they left everything up to the counties and cities in many areas, and that wasn't good either, because many of these counties and cities have been naysayers for the last 2.5 to 3 years. But now they're finally caving. And we're getting in Northern California, like county and different counties that weren't doing it before, they're now letting them get licensing. So things are changing.
Yeah.
But Prop 64, there are a lot of things that I didn't like. And one of them was no consumption in public. How do you like that, right?
Right.
That was not good.
Right. Versus like Canada, right?
Yeah,
and other states.
Yeah, I mean, they took away something, anyway, nevertheless, I don't want to see my motivation and all this. I didn't want to get in trouble myself, okay? I want to see that if I could be free, everybody could be free. And of course, I defended a lot of marijuana cases, more than any lawyer in the country, okay? And I'm proud of it. I defended thousands of marijuana cases, and I'm very successful. And I feel very good about that. And I also put out my guide. Don't forget about my guide.
That's right.
It's very important to people to know about. It tells everything you want to know about what the current laws are, about licensing, and it's good to know the law, because knowing the law and your rights
really important.
I started that guide when I was with Jack here doing speeches at places like the federal building and here in West Hollywood, and over here in Westwood, because kids didn't know the law and they didn't understand the law. That's what's getting in so much trouble with possession for sale. What does it mean, possession for sale? How do you sell, things like that. And I want to tell people right now, if you ship something out of the state more than an ounce, that's a felony in California still, okay?
Right, sure.
If you involve children, you could be a big poo-poo, okay? Mm-hmm. Don't get people involved with your what they're doing, cleaning the weed or whatever else they're doing. Just keep away from children, okay?
Absolutely.
And that's what we stand at the moment. I think we're moving along. I think it's good. I'm happy with these art. To me, I'm in future shock when I see all these billboards up. And
right.
It's crazy.
It is.
But we still have to fight the battle. Right now, we're working on an article to respond to somebody that wrote something out of LA Times that was way out of whack, and they published it on an op-ed piece. So we got to watch ourselves, not let people run against us. And we're still dealing with people that don't understand that the law has been based upon prejudice and bias and not on science. And so we have to continue reminding them that the truth of the matter is it's not addictive. It's not a stepping stone drug.
Right.
The dangers they claimed about how terrible it's going to be when it gets legalized, we're going to have all these accidents and DUI cases. Didn't happen.
That's right.
It's
plant. It's plant medicine, and we can't forget it.
Yeah, we said, hey, when we legalize it, let me tell you, dogs aren't going to have kittens, and cats aren't going to have puppies. Nothing's going to change, okay? And so nothing much has changed. And I think people see the writing on the wall, particularly when it came to this issue about DUI and marijuana use, okay? I see very few cases being prosecuted. Mm-hmm. It is hard for the prosecution to prove what's impairment, and they realize that. And but again, I want to caution people: if you're eating herb, you got to be very careful.
Very careful. Well, Bruce, thank you so much for joining me today. This is our kickoff inaugural episode of the New Normal. Thank you very much. We really
thank you.
It's my pleasure.
I want to thank you for being on our board. I want to thank you for the efforts you're putting out. You're a professional person and coming to here and offer your services. They're beautiful. We really pumped up our organization since I've had you on board, a few other people, and I'm proud of it. And we're going to continue working for the benefit of the consumer. And if people have problems or concerns, contact us. You go online at lanormal.org.
Yep.
They go to nationalnormal.org or calnormal.org, and all that will give you all the information you need. We want to help people stay out of trouble, be free, and stay high.
Thank you, sir. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. God bless you.
See ya. Well,
Ciao.
there I am.
Peace.
Bye. See ya. Peace.
Say hi.
Thanks, Bruce.